All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our little virtual event space. I'm Allie. I'm sorry I've got the whole airline setup going on here, but you know, it's COVID and we do what we got to do. If you are local, you probably recognize me from our Lake Forest Park location. If not, welcome. Hi, nice to meet you. I am so excited to be introducing Rio Cortez and Lauren Semmer here to discuss their new picture book, the ABCs of Black History. Before we get into the fun stuff, I just want to really quickly thank you guys all so much for tuning in and for buying books. Your guys' support really is what keeps this place going. And we so love what we do. So if you guys also love what we do, we would appreciate it if you swing by and grab copies. Or if you're not local, we do ship. Shipping is $3.50 and you get to support USPS too. So that is a bonus. And I will be linking books in the chat, so it'll be really easy to find those. While you are over on the website, I definitely recommend checking out some of our other upcoming events or sign up for our newsletter. It is a weekly update about events and exciting releases. And of course, follow us on any of the major social media platforms at Third Place Books for the quickest updates and recommendations in the new year. So today I'm also super excited to recommend checking out some of our new young adult subscription box. It's called Lit Reads. Every month for a year, oh no, every other month. So every 2 months, it'll be 6 books in a year. We will be choosing a new YA hardcover that we absolutely love and send it your way. The books will be signed. You will get a letter from our staff talking about why we love this book so much, and a custom bookmark and a surprise goodie of our choice. This has been a really, really fun project for us to put together, and we are so excited to share our picks. I think Claire, our manager for the kids section, chose this first book, and her taste is immaculate. So definitely go and check those out. So let's kind of start transitioning into this. We are here for about an hour. And towards the end, we will be taking questions. So if you have any questions, which we very much hope that you do, go ahead and leave those in the Q&A box. It'll be either up at the top of your screen or down at the bottom. And there's 2 different sections. There is a chat box and a Q&A. We would love to hear the questions in the Q&A box, but if you have anything else to sort of scream about, where you're from, just a hello, you know, comments, questions, anything, go ahead and throw them just into the chat. And we love to see that. So if you guys, thoughts, hit us up. We want to hear. So let's see here. We are going to start here with a reading. They're going to go through the whole book and you get to see the pictures, which are absolutely beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and push start on that here in just a second. But first, I'm so excited to introduce Rio Cortez, a Pushcart-nominated poet who has received fellowships from Poets House, Cave Canem, and CantoMundo foundations. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in the Los Angeles Review of Books, the Miami Rail, and Mother Magazine, among others. And then Lauren Semmer is an artist, children's book illustrator, and designer. She studied drawing at St. Paul College of Visual Arts and art history at New York University. Lauren's bright and charming work is featured on everything from kids' wall art to children's apparel. Their new book, The ABCs of Black History, is a journey through Black history and culture, which Publishers Weekly called a rich, accessible resource for anyone seeking to celebrate Black visionaries. So thank you both so much for being here. I am so excited to listen in and on this conversation. And I'm going to go ahead and let you guys say hi real quick and get this thing started.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to read this book to you and have this conversation.
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in.
So here we go. So let me know that if this all works and is coming up. Are we seeing it?
I'm seeing it.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Voila. All right.
All right. So we're going to turn. So I'm going to kick it off with the letter A. A is for that wraps us in hope, lets us know we belong. Lift our voices, lift them and sing. From stages and street corners, let freedom ring.
You can go to the next one. B is for beautiful. I'm talking to you. Your voice, your height, your hair, your hue. B is for brave, for bright, and for bold. For those who stood up even when they were told to step back, step down, remember their place. B is for brotherhood, for believing in grace.
C is for community, where we live, laugh, and eat. And for church, where we worship, mourn, sing, and meet. Did you hear Reverend King preach on his dream of civil rights, human rights, a powerful theme?
D is for diaspora, pulled from our homes where we were carried away on ships on the phone. To Haiti, Cuba, America, Brazil. Our names are different, new, but still, we are connected. And then now forevermore to that long ago, faraway African shore.
E is for explore, to study a place, like Matthew Henson, the Arctic, Mae Jemison, space. E is for education, for expanding the mind, like Ruby Bridges, Linda Brown, the Little Rock Nine. The first Black children in all white schools, they opened the doors and challenged the rules.
F is for food, grown and farmed with our hands, worked and tilled and pulled from the land. For fried fish, ham hocks, warm buttermilk bread, or maybe the sharp taste of mustards instead. F is for folklore, by the light of the moon, for family, for freedom, for jumping the broom.
G is for go, towards cities we were bound, for the great migration from country to town, from farming the land to the factory floor. We carried the blues on our backs, not much more.
H is for Harlem, those big city streets. We walked and we danced in our own jazzy beat. When Louie and Bessie and Duke owned the stage, and Langston and Zora Neale Hurston the page.
I is for imagine, invent, innovative, for all of the ways we are also creative. I'm going to read these folks' names too. Jean-Michel Basquiat, Alvin Ailey, Gwendolyn Brooks, Madam C.J. Walker, George Washington Carver, and DJ Kool Herc.
J is for Juneteenth. We are finally free, or so we hoped in that moment of glee. J is for Juve, when the drummers drum from Trinidad and Grenada and Haiti they come.
K is for kin, our fathers and mothers, our ancestors, elders, our sisters and brothers. K is for Kwanzaa, which honors that bond. Ask Habari Ghani and we might respond. I'm not going to read all the principles of Kwanzaa, but they're there.
L is for love, L is for love, L is always for love.
M is for march, for lifting our feet, taking the movement, the cause to the street. Black Lives Matter, every breath, every dream, every thought, each idea, each impossible scheme. The might of our message is easy to hear. The drumbeat of hope is louder than fear.
N is for newspapers. We started our own to tell our stories and let it be known. We deserve the front page. We deserve to be seen and to always be featured in slick magazines.
O is for organize, for getting together, to sit in and boycott to make our lives better. Thank you, Fred Hampton. Thank you, Diane Nash, for not being afraid of the possible clash with police and people who shouted and teased, because of you, we can go where we please.
P is for power. It's part of our core. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it must roar like a panther. Isn't that right, Huey P? P is power for people like you and like me. And who do you think has more power than most? The president. Obama was first to that post, but Charlesism unbossed and unbought came so much closer than most people thought a Black woman could, which just goes to show P is for possible. So glow on, child, glow.
Q is for queens, behold and bow down, shield your eyes from the shine of their crowns.
R is for rise, to reach for the top, relentlessly striving, refusing to stop. Like ball players, boxers, and gymnasts who fly, sprinters and skaters who zoomed right on by. Old records with thinking, a sight to behold. They went for the win and grabbed for the gold.
S is for scientists who charted the stars, studied the bees, took care of our hearts. For Benjamin Banneker, Patricia Bath, for Katherine Johnson's beautiful math. S is for soul, how sweet the sound, from the croon of Sam Cooke to the wail of James Brown. Brother Ray on the keys, Sister Tharp dressed in mink, and Queen Aretha sang, "You Better Think."
T is for Tuskegee, an all-Black school where students learn trades and toil with tools. That's how we will rise, said Boss Booker T, but another smart man just didn't agree. W.E.B. Du Bois said, industry's fine, but I think it's better to work on your mind. They had different ideas, but here's what's true. In their own ways, they were thinking of you.
U is for United States. This story is tough. The birth of a nation was deadly for us. We the people in the land of the free, no one who was enslaved would agree. U is for unbroken, unshaken, unbound, like Harriet Tubman who went underground, took back her freedom and freed hundreds more, then was a spy in the Great Civil War. But when the states were united again, the fight for our freedom and lives didn't end. So U is for unfinished, this American tale. With courage and strength, we will prevail.
V is for vote. Do you know what that means? The freedom to pick and choose as you please. The freedom to choose who makes the rules, who has the power, who gets the tools to make their lives better. That's why we fight. The freedom to vote is a true civil right.
W is for writers whose wisdom and words bring to life worlds where their voices are heard. Rappers and poets and songwriters too, all those who spin from our point of view.
X is for Malcolm Malik El-Shabazz, known also as Red Malcolm Little El-Hash. But by any means necessary, he insisted on change. Starting with X, he reclaimed his name.
Y is for young, gifted, and Black, like Lady Lorraine, who never looked back. She wrote of big dreams in rooms so small, it's hard to believe they were dreamed in at all. Lorraine and her work moved Nina Simone so much that Nina made work of her own. Young, gifted, and Black, a banner of song that wraps us in hope, lets us know we belong.
Z is for Zenith, the highest, the peak, the top of that mountain King said we would reach. He won't get there with us, but still we march on, rising, rising like the sun with the dawn.
That's it.
Thank you guys so much for that reading. Such a beautiful, beautiful book. So I have some questions here that I would love to ask. Can we just know, tell us about the process of writing and illustrating this book.
Yeah, it's so interesting because Lauren and I, we never really communicated through we communicated, I think, through one another's work. So through our one conduit was our editor. So I don't actually know what Lauren's process was, but mine was to write the full alphabet and then revise and write and revise. And then sometimes I'd get feedback from our editor and Tracy, and she would say like, well, Lauren's going to illustrate this, so I don't think we need to say it. And so sometimes that's what a revision would look like. And then she would send me drafts of Lauren's illustrations, and we would revise more. But it's a bizarre process in that way because we were both in our own silos, writing, I think, and illustrating, and then talking through Tracy. But I don't know, Lauren, if your experience.
Very similar to Rio, but I was drawing the pictures while she was writing. And so I would get Rio's words and I kind of just let them kind of sink in. And then, you think about ways we can tell the story, I guess. And then it was just kind of a lot of back and forth. But yeah, we met each other just recently. Like we ran into each other at a bookstore, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it was a really fun process though. And I really enjoyed working on the book immensely. So yeah.
So for me, like writing an alphabet book, there are a lot of alphabet books out there, but I think what makes this one different, if I can say so, or a little bit different, is that it's told in rhyming verse. And so it's not just a letter for a word, but it's like the verse of a long poem. And so that was my challenge. So actually it started by like Scotch taping a ton of index cards to our kitchen wall that we all lived with. But it was actually sort of incredible because what we were my husband helped me Scotch tape these things to our wall, but it would be like themes from Black history told alphabetically, like all taped on the kitchen. And then I would eliminate one as I wrote about it in a different section. So that's what it looked like in our home at first. And then eventually we moved to Microsoft Word when things got a little bit more manageable. But it was a nice visual reminder of all of the ways that we could think about Black history every day when we were like cooking dinner and making breakfast. Like we got to see all of those themes and names and inspirations in our kitchen that eventually became the poem for the book.
That actually leads me to my next question, which is sort of how did this book begin for you? Where did the spark start? When was that first initial moment?
So again, our journeys are different, but for me, I think when I worked as a book buyer for the Schomburg Center bookshop, and I would see a lot of children's books about specific characters in Black history. And so I think it was just an exciting thing to think about Black history in a really inclusive way in terms of national identity, gender identity, sexuality. Those were things that I felt like I wasn't encountering as often for the kids in our community, but specifically also my child. So that's how it started for me.
I'll say for me, it was really important that children sort of see themselves in the book. As a kind of what Rio was saying, was like thinking about her daughter. I thought a lot about my kids and how there just isn't the representation of history the same way in children's books in a way that I think kids can really like grab onto. And so working on it, I always wanted to make sure we incorporated children throughout the whole storytelling. So if you kind of look through the pages, you'll see lots of kids, and that was a fun project to work on.
So the ABCs of Black history takes young readers through the whole alphabet of Black history and culture. Was there like a particular event, place, or person that you were really excited to write or draw about?
That's such a good question. I don't know. I think I was excited to have Harlem in there because for like its own letter, because that's where we live and it's where I've worked and my partner grew up. And so I think that was really fun. But on the other side of that question, is when you're doing an alphabet about Black history for children, I think my biggest challenge with the letters or with what we included in the book was how much do you celebrate and how much is joyful, and then how much of our truth do you tell, and how do you tell that truth for children? And part of the truth of Black history are some really difficult topics like transatlantic slavery. And so the letter D for me, for example, which in the book is diaspora, was one of those like majorly challenging letters. I knew that I wanted to talk directly about enslavement and transatlantic slavery, but how do you do it for this age group and in a way that it still leaves room for a lot of joyfulness? That was a question.
Yeah, speaking to D, that was something we actually went a lot of back and forth on. We with Tracy about how to represent that one. We went all different kinds of directions. And I guess at the end of the day, it kind of became about the connection. It was trying to find sort of what you could pull out of something like that, you still want to hold on to in a way. And it was just creating that connection. So when you look at that spread, you can kind of see that that's really what we ended up trying to do. But it was a big collaboration, that one, because you're dealing with subject matter that can be really challenging, but it's important that children are, understand. We need to understand our history, so.
Yeah, that was letters like that for me to see Lauren's image, which did such a good job visually of sort of addressing this major, essential, heartbreaking issue. So like even visually, it had to be succinct and do the same kind of work. So it was one of those letters that was really collaborative and I think challenging.
Absolutely. Yep.
So what do you sort of hope that readers take away from this book, from the text and the art in this book?
I think I hope that readers take away new information. I think there are a lot of pages of back matter in the book. And so I feel like if you are sort of new to Black history, or even, so my mother, who is a Black woman, read this and was like, who's that? And she's like been learning all kinds of stuff. And so I hope that it's sort of just a launch pad for investigating more figures from Black history who might be lesser known or sort of undersung heroes in Black history. I think there are so many little like Easter eggs in the book too, like on the letter L, there's Nat Love, who's a Black cowboy from the West who I don't see represented a lot, and who was really, I'm from Utah, and so putting a Black cowboy in the book was like also one of those really exciting things. So I hope the book does that. It sort of sparks interest and further exploration. That's my hope.
Yeah, I think for me, as I was saying, when I was working on it, I just hope that children felt seen in the pages of the book. They feel like they're included and they feel like they're a part of the history and they're going to carry it on. And so that was a big part of something we consciously tried to weave in.
Another thing I think Lauren did a really good job at, there's a really broad spectrum of skin tone and Blackness, and how Blackness is pictured in the faces of kids and adults in the book. And that's something that you don't always see in children's books too. So that's been really nice.
So who inspires you? And I mean, you can take that question in any direction you want.
Inspires you? Oh man. Like so many people. Recently, I'm very inspired by Stacey Abrams. I feel like she has been getting some really deserved love. She's a big inspiration. This is it's one of those questions like so there's countless answers. Like definitely I could talk about like my family and things like that, but I feel like lately I've been thinking a lot about Stacey Abrams, but I'll come back. We'll go back and forth. Lauren, you answer, and then I'll think a little bit.
I mean, definitely Stacey Abrams is inspirational, especially right now. I mean, it's incredible. I'll say too, like when I was working on the book and you were saying, Rio, like your mom was, she even learned as a Black woman, learned some things. There's people in the book that I even didn't know they're behind their stories. And so for me, getting to work on this book was really fun because there's so many inspirational people within the book. Like Madam C.J. Walker was somebody who I knew her name and I sort of knew her image, but I didn't really understand how incredible she was until I learned more about her. I mean, the things she overcame and what she did. And so I found a lot of inspiration in that. And I mean, again, it's like, when you think about who inspires you, there's so many, it's just, I don't know, I feel like this year is, there's been so many incredible people, really just incredible people out there, like doing incredible things. Like it's an inspiring year. It's been a hard year, but it's inspiring too.
Yeah, I think it's like the story of Black history. It's like, there's just like so many obstacles that all of the successes become even more inspiring to me and like worth celebrating. And so that's kind of how I feel about a lot of the folks in this book. And I think Tracy, who is our editor, is also an expert in Black history, which was like such a gift, I think, because
she's amazing. I feel like Tracy's inspiring,
like will be coming out. Like there were a couple folks where she's like, well, what about, we're trying to like figure out the rhyme, and she'd be like, what about Benjamin Banneker? And I'd be like, wow, that's a deep cut.
Yeah, it's a deep cut.
She has some deep cuts of Black history that I appreciated in an editor, and I think a lot of editors could handle editing an ABC book, but because she is also a Black woman and has like such a deep understanding and knowledge base of Black history, she just sort of made it that much like more textured and I think uncommon as far as children's books about Black history goes. So she's definitely an inspiration.
Completely agree with you.
So Carolyn asked, what age group were you writing for?
That's a great question, Carolyn. Lauren, I don't know the ages of your kids. I mean, like, I feel like an expert in two-year-olds reading, and this is, I think, a little old for 2-year-olds.
Mine are 3 and 5.
Yeah, so I feel like this is really good for 5 and up, but I have some parents who have shared with me that they have really young children, like 1 to 3 years old, and they kind of let them go through the pictures and talk a little bit about it. But I feel like 5 or 6 and up is really like a sweet spot. But my parents' neighbors, who are grown adults, they've been reading this picture book, and they've been doing it in such like a special way. Lauren, I'll have to share with you like the text messages I've gotten, but they're like reading a page or two a night, and they're like going deeper into the back matter. So there's like a Star Trek, the woman from Star Trek, Uhura is in this, and they like went back and watched episodes of the first interracial kiss on Star Trek. Like they literally are taking it day by day and immersing themselves in Black history. And so I just thought it was such a fun way to read the book. But all that to say that I think even though it's for children, there's a lot there for any age. But I would say like 5 and up is where it is in terms of reading levels.
So I have a last question here, and then I'm going to start pestering the audience for more questions. Let's see. What advice do you have for families and children inspired to continue their exploration of Black history and culture?
Well, first of all, I will say that the back matter of this book has so much information to jump off from. if you read about any character, you can pretty much find a little more information about them in the back. And also, if you look in the book, you'll find recommendations for other places to learn about Black history, like other books, other websites. It's really kind of scattered around the book, including the front of the book. There's some information. And then the other thing I would say is to seek out Black artists, whether that's musicians or, theater or books or, other children's books that are by Black authors or illustrators, music, whatever. Just seek it out and like have it as a part of your life. And then I think that's really how you're going to learn more about the Black experience.
Yeah, I agree. I think the more that you do, anything you do, any media that you enjoy, try organically incorporating media by Black folks into your life. And I think what's really amazing about a lot of Black artists and makers, whether or not they're being intentional about talking about history, there's a way that it engages with Black history in a really natural way that you would just it would become part of your world too. And I think that that's really important. So like Lauren saying, like film, maybe you buy from small Black businesses, and a lot of those have legacies like Madam C.J. Walker, other entrepreneurs in Black history. But you could also start with this book. You could, in the front, like Lauren's saying, there's a list of like websites and other resources, institutions that you could go to, poems that are in here, other books that you could check out from your library or buy from Third Place Books if you were so inclined. So I think it's all around you. And when you set out with an intention of sort of learning more about Black history, I think it's amazing for you personally, because that growth is great for every single person, but it also provides you, I would say, like a really important context to even what's going on in the world now. So I think a better understanding of Black history will help you understand literally what's happening in today's news. And so super, super critical.
And then what is your favorite thing that you have read recently? Hopefully a kid's book, but anything that comes to mind.
I'm trying not to be basic. Right now, my 2-year-old is like obviously reciting Goodnight Moon to me, but let me think more about that. She's like, let me read you Goodnight Moon. She's just like memorized it and just giving it back to us. But hold on, give me 2 seconds. I don't know, Lauren, if you have a kid's book that you've been reading.
I read so many kids' books. I personally, she's I'm a huge fan of Faith Ringgold. If you know her art and her writing, I mean, she's an amazing children's book illustrator and writer. So my kids are 3 and 5, so they're kind of just starting to be able to take in bigger stories. So I just bought, I'm just trying to remember what it was called. Okay, it was On Harry's Underground Railroad in the Sky. We just bought that book, and it was just like, I looked at it before I had kids, but looking at it with kids is so fun. Like, and so that's one that I think is probably my favorite. It's incredible. So I would highly recommend it.
Yes, I love her. And Tar Beach.
Yeah, Tar Beach is great.
Makes me cry. And then I think we've been reading also, I mean, we try to read we like Woke Baby, books that are indestructible, board books, like the Dream Big Little Leader board book that we've been really into over here lately. So those more will come to me after, and it's going to really bother me, but that's what
I know that's always a risky question because on the spot, I can't think of them either. There's so many good ones.
I have a book hoarder.
Totally. I think we can all kind of identify. Right? All right. So let's see if there's anyone in the audience who has any other questions, go ahead. Now is the time. Throw them up. Oh, here we go. Carolyn says a children's book that is geared towards 2 and up age group is D is for Diversity, a good simple text for introducing the concept of differences. Well, thank you. And then here, let me throw Woke Baby onto the thing too, because I'm sort of linking the books we're chatting about here. All right. And then did you guys have any questions for each other? Is there anything that you want to sort of discuss? Anything fun that maybe I didn't think to ask?
I know, that's so hard. I'm always like, we have, well, what are you working on next?
I'm excited. I'm working on a book about Nichelle Nichols, which is, I'm really, really excited about that. It's coming out in like about a year and a half or so. So, and I'm really excited about that. And then we're doing a poster. We're working on a poster together, Rio and I, with the ABCs of Black History, which is going to be really cool. And yeah, that's kind of like, those are my kind of my book related projects. I mean, what about you? Are you working on anything in that area?
Well, I'm working on this poetry manuscript, but it's for adults. And then I have a little picture book manuscript also that I'm working on, but it's very early stages. But Lauren and I do have a poster that Lauren designed for Independent Bookstore Day. So look out for that. And all of the proceeds from that poster will go to benefit the Conscious Kid, I believe, which is exciting. And it will be a poster about Black history that Lauren did the art for. So.
Very excited about the poster. It's looking really good. So can't wait to share you the final one.
For our home is what I want to do. But yeah, I just want to say thank you for having us, because this is sort of our first bookstore event that we've done around the book. And it's so hard. I'm sure that you're like all used to it because it's been happening since March of 2020, but it's just such a different experience doing these events virtually. And so we're grateful to have the support of Third Place. And I wish we could be there in person and in the beautiful Seattle gray with you, but it's nice.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that, for the experience.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not really what you expect, but I'm excited to be able to share the book and do this with you guys.
Well, it is our absolute honor to have you guys here. It's been so much fun chatting and hearing a little bit about the book. Everyone, thank you so much for turning out. Definitely click on those links in the chat box, head over. We love it when you buy books. We're very excited. So yeah, I think that unless there's any last minute announcements, feelings, you kind of stole my last question. You guys are already on it. So yeah, thank you. And keep an eye out for that that poster. We love Independent Bookstore Day. It's like the best day of the year. It's like bookstore Christmas. So definitely keep an eye out for that. And thank you guys all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yay. Bye, everyone.